Please join me in a moment of introspection with your palms placed together in Gassho. From the Sambutsuge, the praises of the Buddha. Even though my body must bear great pain and suffering, I will persevere and strive patiently without regret. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Nama. Greetings. I am Reverend David Fujimoto, resident minister of Mililani, Hongwanji, and overseeing minister here at Eva Hongwanji, where in 2021 we'll be celebrating its 120th anniversary. Thank you for joining us for this New Year's Eve and final service of 2020. In just a few hours, we'll be shutting the door on 2020. However, before we do, we take this opportunity to hear the Dharma and to reflect on the power of infinite wisdom and incomprehensible compassion that embraces all of us. There is, without a doubt, the pandemic has been on our minds throughout the year. Who would have known an unseen microscopic organism would upend our everyday life? It definitely changed the way we did things and made us aware of all the things that we took for granted in life. I am sure many of us are just ready to say goodbye to 2020, a year full of sheer unpredictability. In his new book, Reiwa Ban Hotoke no Oshie Amida Sama ni Omakashite Ikiru, Monshu Kojun Otani says, as the effects of the new coronavirus infection continues, it is understandable that we will be unable to live in the same manner that we have before, and an increased feeling of uneasiness about the future. But when you really think about it, is the future that we envision ever really certain? At the beginning of 2020, I don't think any of us envisioned what the future had in store for all of us. We've made so many changes in life to the point that it made us go out of our comfort levels. But like in any other year, what we envision for the future isn't always certain or what we had planned for. So the question becomes, where do we go from here as we head into a new year? I am sure we'll continue with a feeling of uncertainty. The world that we are currently living in, especially now in 2020, really challenged us mentally, physically, and spiritually. I am reminded of a song that I like to listen to every so often when I need that little pick-me-up. All of us have a head full of dreams and a heart that's hopeful. But today, it seems as if those dreams and that heart that is so full of hope feels like we are roaming in the darkness of night, trying to find our place in the world. It also asks the questions, if there are millions down on their knees, among the many, can my voice still be heard? Is there someone or something there to hear me ask, where do I belong? And is there a vision, a sign of hope that I can call my own? It reminded me that throughout all of this, we are not alone. We are not roaming in the darkness, lost in the night. There is something there to hear my voice and calls out to me to give me that hope. And that is the light of Amida Buddha, that embrace of incomprehensible compassion. There are those days when we feel weak and feeble. There are those days that we feel like dropping to our knees, just looking for the answers. Shinran Shonin says that we are able to nurture inside of ourselves that hope, and also finding and defining our place in this world. To do that, we must allow the light of incomprehensible compassion to shine down on us. Shinran Shonin writes in his Shoshinge, "The light of compassion that grasps us, illumines and protects us always. The darkness of our ignorance is already broken through. Still, the clouds and mists of greed and desire, anger and hatred cover as always the sky of true and real Shinjin. But though the light of the sun is veiled by clouds and mist, beneath the clouds and mist there is brightness, not dark." Shinran is trying to reach out to us to say that we should recognize, open our eyes to that disgruntled dissatisfaction in our lives. This clouds and mist that is home to our greed, anger, ignorance, desire, and hatred covers up the light of compassion. And it is through the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, that our way of thinking is changed into this mind of appreciation and gratitude. As many of you know, I was hospitalized for several days. At that time, even though I tested negative for COVID, I was not allowed to have visitors. For 4 nights, except for the nurses coming in every so many hours to check my vitals or to say that they were leaving, I was alone, as if in isolation. Sure, I was frustrated, upset, a little down, for I've never felt so alone in my life. I was definitely that person wandering in the darkness of night, trying to find my way. One day, as I was getting my exercise around the floor, I decided to open up the blinds to let some sunlight in to brighten up my room. In doing so came the realization of Shinran Shonin's words. Through all the pain and suffering that I was going through post-surgery, my anger, my frustration was getting the best of me and festering inside of me, as I had no way of venting this frustration out. However, when that sun hit and shined into my room, there was a Nembutsu moment. It seemed as if the darkness of my ignorance was broken through. This frustrated heart changed into a heart of appreciation, this heart of understanding, this heart of the here and the now. It took something so simple for me to realize something that was already there. There's a poem in the Omoro Soshi, a collection of well over 1,533 ancient poems and songs of Okinawa that says, "In the eastern skies, as the dawn awakens, it is a wondrous sight, as though the phoenix is dancing." I've always wondered what the situation was in that this was written, and by whom. I think we all agree that the outlook for 2021 is the sentiment that is felt in this poem. We are that wondrous phoenix that is rising from the ashes, dancing as the new dawn of 2021 awakens. Out of the ashes we arise. We are now stronger mentally, spiritually. We who have learned and continue to learn from the Dharma that has taught us about our hardships and our distress, which leads to the arising of suffering in us. As the Monshu states, suffering arises from trying to do what you want, to do not do what you want. Our everyday life, we take for granted the moments in which we should be thankful for. Eating that delicious meal at our favorite restaurant, spending time with our friends and our family, and that very, very, very important enjoying a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Now that we have gone through self-isolations, shutdowns, partial shutdowns, we have learned just how much we should live in this very moment. And we also saw just how many people we really interact with on a daily basis, or all the people that it takes for us to enjoy that delicious meal or that cup of coffee. We made the necessary changes, not only for our sake, but the sake of others. As much as we do not want or may not like to wear our mask, spend time separated from our families, especially during the holidays. We should not do whatever we want. We are mindful of others and their health. There is a life lesson in all of that. One of the things that one of my mentors said was, sometimes we have to ask ourselves when doing things, are you doing it out of necessity or doing it because you want to look good? That has always stayed with me, for we are always accountable for our actions. Today, as we say goodbye to 2020, we need to take the lessons we learned and apply it to our lives to make our lives more meaningful and more purposeful. Slowly, we are starting to do the things that we normally do in everyday life, but there are the things that we will or should take with us as we start to return to a new normal. One of the things that I now enjoy is enjoying a mid-morning snack and an afternoon snack. It sounds so elementary school, but it serves as a reminder to slow down and take a break. I sit out on my lanai and take in the view that surrounds me, hear the birds, feel the sun on my face, or sometimes I catch up on my comic book reading. To me, that is being in the moment that is fleeting and brief. A moment of appreciation and the life that I've been given. That moment is just one moment that we'll all go throughout our lives. As the clock strikes midnight, when all is said and done, don't forget to take the time to be in the moment, for there will never be a moment like this ever again. If you feel that urge to put your palms together and recite Namo Amida Butsu, remember that is not only your voice, but the voice of the Buddha calling out to remind you that you are not alone. It is the calling voice that reminds us that the Buddha's work continues to save us, to illuminate our daily lives. One of my favorite quotes comes from Reverend Ryoshin Okano. In the great expanse of life today, this one of many days, I'm trudging along my karmic path, bathed in the infinite light and compassion. What a fortunate being I am. Nowadays, I find that to be my answer when asked, how are you doing? Behind my mask comes trudging along, very fortunate. Through all that I have or we have been through, it is easy for us to say things like, miserable. But there's so much in life to be grateful for. In the great expanse of life, today, this one of many days, I'm trudging along my karmic path, bathed in infinite light of compassion. What a fortunate being I am. The karmic path that we travel is not carved in stone. Our karmic path is carved out in the many instances that we have. As sentient beings, we carve out by taking full advantage of all that life offers us. Take responsibility in our lives. Our response to all the situations that we are put into, our greed, anger, ignorance, and desires. But despite all of that, the light of compassion always illuminates us. We just have to give it its proper attention. Buddhism offers us moments of introspection in which we are reminded that the light is always there, although we may not feel or see it. Introspection transitions us of bah humbug to very fortunate. If we have a hard time in this transition, we should try to, or we need to make a little more effort to look into ourselves. That is when we start to see the dark clouds dissipate and allow the light of Amida's compassion to further embrace us. As now we embrace others with the same compassion that we would want. In 2020, despite all the negatives and all the hostilities, we saw a glimmer of being embraced in that light of compassion. We need to celebrate that and allow more opportunities for the light of compassion to shine. We see it in the tireless work of our essential workers. The Pay It Forward movement, in which people have paid for other people's food or groceries. It is in the stories in which, despite our differences, we can live harmoniously together. One event that I have seen firsthand took place over the 4th of July weekend, in which a lady was shopping without a mask. It would have been easy for someone to make a big deal about it and cause a scene. Maybe she had a medical reason, but no one bothered her, and she didn't bother anyone. She stood in line, and upon checking out, she realized she wasn't able to pay for her groceries. Someone in the other checkout line saw this and heard this, came over, and rather than saying, good for you, paid for her groceries, wished her a happy 4th of July, and with that left. On social media, we have been conditioned to see so many and other deceiving things that unexpected events like this offers us that glimmer of hope. That glimmer of hope is what I hope will carry us through 2021 and the rest of our lives. 2021 offers that opportunity to rise up from the ashes full of optimism. In that fashion, that optimism can ease our feeling of uneasiness as we go through this moment of uncertainty. We are not alone. With the Dharma as our guide, we are able to live life full of awareness, appreciation, and gratitude. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me this opportunity to share with you just a little of what the Dharma has to offer us. I sincerely hope, as this is the final in the series of Dharma messages, that you have gained a lot and learned from the various perspectives of the Honpa Hongwanji mission of Hawaii ministers. May the light of incomprehensible compassion continue to embrace you. On behalf of everyone at Mililani Hongwanji, Eva Hongwanji, and my family, I wish you a prosperous, happy New Year. May Shinran's aspiration of peace and tranquility continue to spread. May peace be with you. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Naman.